guys, today we're going to start a new project, the postage stamp. So we're going to start by starting a new file. And we want to make this a 10-inch wide by 8-inch tall document with 300 pixels per inch. We want it in RGB color mode. And we want to set our background contents to black. I'm going to go ahead and name this. So we'll name it last, first, and we can just call this stamp. So last first stamp, width 10 inches, height 8 inches, resolution 300 pixels per inch, RGB color mode, and our background contents is set to black. Create. All right. I'm going to unlock the background layer by double clicking on it. And we want to name this base. The next thing I want to do is turn my rulers on. If your rulers are showing already, then that means they're already on. But I also want you to check and make sure you have snap on. So both of those are under view. So if you go up to view, you can see my rulers is off, which is why they're not showing. So I'm going to click on that. And now my rulers are showing on the top and on the left-hand side. And also snap is already on. So I'm going to just leave that on. If yours is off, click on that. So you want a check mark next to rulers and a check mark next to snap. What we're going to do is we're going to pull out some guidelines. And we want these guidelines to show us where the exact center of our document is. And one way to find the exact center of a document is to do a transformation. So I'm just going to hit Command T on the keyboard. And with this transformation window, I have this little center node that shows me exactly where that center is. Make sure you don't move that, because if you move it, then you will no longer see where the center is. Then I'm moving my cursor up to my ruler. I'll start with the top ruler. And with the cursor on the ruler, not on the edge of it, but exactly inside of it, I'm going to click and pull down a guideline. And because I'm on snap, it should snap to the center right there. Okay, and I want to do the same thing moving over to the ruler on the left-hand side. And again, with my cursor inside the ruler, I'm going to click and drag. And once again, snap to that center. Perfect. Up here, I can just not accept the transformation. Okay, so now I can see where the exact center of my document is, and that's going to be really helpful for me. At this point, I'm going to start a new layer, and I will name that layer Stamp. I'm going to then change my foreground color to an off-white color. One way to do this is to check on the B and change B to 95%. When you do that, you should have a hex number down here of F2, F2, F2. That's another way of getting this color. Instead of going to B and typing in 95%, you can just change your hex number to F2, 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 and then say OK. All right, so now I have this off-white color in my foreground, and I want to create a selection of a square for my stamp. And I'm going to use the rectangular marquee for this. So click on the rectangular marquee tool. Go to the exact center. So you just put the crosshairs of that right over that center cross. And I'm going to hold Shift because Shift will give me an exact square, but I'm also going to hold Option, which will keep the square in the center. So while holding both Shift and Option, I'm going to pull out a square, and I want to make it nice and big, but not too close to the edge. Let go of the mouse first, and then the keys. The next thing I want to do is I want to paint bucket dump this off-white color inside of this square. There's also a shortcut for that. The shortcut to fill a selection with your foreground color is Option Delete. So I'll go ahead and click that. So Option Delete on the keyboard. just filled with my foreground color. You can do that, or again, you can use the paint bucket, whichever you feel most comfortable with. And then I'm going to hit Command D to deselect. At this point, I'm going to File, Save As. Since this is the first time I'm saving, I need to remember to do a Save As, and then I need to navigate into my folder. And I'll just go ahead and save it in here since I haven't started a new folder for my stamp project, but I will do that in a little bit. Okay, now that I have that saved, I can move along. The next thing I want to do is I want to create the edges of my stamp. And I'm going to do that with the eraser tool. So I'll come over to my tools panel and I'll activate the eraser tool. But I also want to open up the brush panel, and I can do that easily up here on the tools option panel, while on the eraser tool it's this little icon right here. So I'm going to click on that and my brush panel will pull up. All of these brush presets on the left should be off. So if you have check marks on any of them, uncheck those. I want to set the size to 125 pixels. I want the hardness to be at 100%, and spacing should be on, and we're going to start with a spacing of 150. Okay, so with these settings, I'm going to come over to my stamp. I'll go ahead and close that so I can see what I'm doing. And before I start these edges, I want to find where the exact corners of this stamp are. So I need to pull out some more guidelines. So I'm just going to drag a guideline to the very top of my stamp and one to the very bottom of my stamp. And coming over to the left ruler, I'm going to pull a guide to the left side of my stamp and one all the way over to the right side of my stamp. And as you can see, that really helps me see where my corners are on this. So pick a corner to start with. It could be any corner. I'll go ahead and choose this upper left-hand corner. And I want to place my eraser right over that corner so it makes a perfect bullseye. And then I'm going to hold the Shift key as I click and drag down to the bottom corner, like so. Okay, so the Shift key will help you keep that straight. If you don't hold the Shift key, you're going to have a really hard time keeping it straight. But you can see that this corner did not work out well. I want this corner to look exactly like this corner. So I either need to increase that spacing or decrease it. And I think I will go ahead and try to increase it. So I'm going to Command Z to undo that step, go back to my brush panel, and I want to increase the spacing. We'll try 153. And everybody's number on this spacing will be different, by the way, because we kind of hand drew this square. Remember with the rectangular marquee, I said to make it fit the page but not too close to the edges. So everybody's is not exactly the same. And so this is kind of a problem-solving step where you'll need to get this spacing just right. Okay, so I'm going to try this again, and again holding Shift, I'm going to click and drag straight down. Okay, and that is much closer than my first attempt, although I still don't find this to be perfect. I'd rather have it end up about right there. So I'm going to increase my spacing maybe by 1% more and try that. So Command Z to undo, and we will try 154. And I'll just continue doing this until I get that spacing just right. This part might take a little bit of time, but once you get it, then you're good to go. Okay, I think that one's going to do it. It's not perfect. I could try 155. I'll go ahead and try 155. And if 155 is too far over, I'll go back to 154. It's pretty close. Okay, actually 155 is perfect. So I will keep that, and I'm going to start my next one, the bottom row down here, right on that cutout that I just did. And again, holding shift, goes straight across. And these should come out perfect since I already have my spacing down. Okay, and one more across the top. Okay, perfect. As you're doing this, if it doesn't come out just right, like let's say you let go of the shift key and it kind of went up or down, don't worry, just Command Z, undo, and try it again. Because once you get it down, it's going to go really easily and you will have no trouble with it. Okay, that's it for today. So at this point, I'm going to File Save. Since I already did a Save As, I can go ahead and just hit File Save, and that should save right into my folder. I can then go into my folder and start that new folder, which I'll call Postage Stamp, and drag that in there. Okay, that's it. Until next time.